Hello, my astrology friends. This is Lada from AstroladaOfficial, and thank you so much for choosing me to be your astrologer to lead you through the energy of Uranus. I feel so closely bonded to the energy of Uranus, maybe because I'm ruled by Uranus. Uranus is my strongest planet in the horoscope. It's the only planet on an angle. Whatever planet you have on an angle, ascendant, midheaven, fourth house cusp or seven house cusp, this becomes your signature. This becomes your soul, kind of the main planet that influences you in this incarnation, and you're very attuned to its energies. And I'm an Aquarius rising, Uranus rules Aquarius. So thank you. I feel honored and I'm excited to talk about Uranus. I hope you feel the sparks around me when a person aligns to the energy uh, of something, to think about something, whether it's positive, whether it's food, whether it's a planet, whether it's a person. They start vibrating about this thing they're talking about, thinking about. So I'm, if I'm glitching in and out or jumping around, that's the Uranian energy. But hopefully, some really insights, very powerful insights, can come to you through this webinar. Something that is like Eureka. Uranus has this energy. Eureka. I see an answer, suddenly seeing, suddenly realizing. This is the energy of Uranus. That's why I love it so much. Sometimes we can be stuck in a problem for years. I can tell you a story. I haven't experienced a Uranus transit in a long time, a powerful one. And for about 9, 10 years, I was stuck in the same energy over and over and over. And I had feelings for someone I didn't want to have. It was not healthy at all. And I was stuck in my life. And it just couldn't get out of it. I tried therapy, I tried deprogramming, reprogramming, so many kinds of stuff. It's just when you're stuck in kind of one vibration and a way of thinking and feeling, you can't get out of it. No matter what, I promise you, you can try, and you've probably felt this. It's like trying to pull yourself out by your own hair. So it's wrong to say when someone is stuck in a situation for years or in a way they feel. It might be guilt, it might be depression, it might be anger, it might be obsession about something. Um, you cannot blame the person always. It's impossible. And I tried with all the best professionals, with occult methods, even magic. I tried doing magical rituals like eating pictures. Nothing worked. Tried traveling, stopping, thinking, going, dating others. Nothing. Till Uranus comes. Uranus comes and bam, takes you out of a state you've been in for years. Suddenly you see, before that, you might have realized, okay, it's the wrong situation. I shouldn't be with this person, or I shouldn't be in this job. But you just don't have I shouldn't be drinking, or I shouldn't be using something. You realize you're doing something wrong, but you can't get yourself out of there because it's your vibration. You don't realize it on a very deep level. And that's why I love Uranus so much, because it comes and suddenly things you've heard all your life, now it makes sense. Or maybe you hear something totally new that brings you out of this old vibration, and you're like, now I see. It's like before Uranus, it's as if trying to explain the color to a blind person. After Uranus, the person sees, you don't have to explain. So, especially we're talking here strong Uranus transit, conjunction, opposition, squares. Uh, that's why they're more powerful. Sextiles, trines, they're very gentle, pleasant, but they don't give you such awakenings. And that's why Uranus gives you this. Uranus is the energy of being shot out into space. And now you're gonna get the answer. Is the Earth flat or square or a sphere? Until you stay here philosophizing, theorizing, you can prove with formulas and deductive reasoning that the Earth is flat, that the Earth is also square or circular. The science for all of them is correct, but you would only be certain when you're shot very high up from a very different perspective to know the truth. And that's what happens when we have Uranus transit. So whatever you have in Gemini, this is what Uranus will bring for you in that area of your life. Or even if you have nothing in Gemini, like I don't have anything, just the fifth house. Uh, if you have something in Pisces, in Virgo, in Sagittarius, that's the time over the next 7, 8 years. Uranus that will totally awaken you from one vibrational state into a different, and it shoot you up into the stratosphere, and suddenly you see from a much higher perspective, because Uranus is divine knowledge, divine understanding. Like, I know now. Divine, the normal human understanding is gradual. You learn this, you learn that. Divine wisdom and knowledge, it's like immediately download it. I know the answer to everything in the world. I'm not saying, I mean, you know the answer to everything in the world, but in some sphere in your life, there will be such kind of an awakening, powerful moment. And you're like, I was stuck for so long and something happens. It doesn't even have to happen, it's just your energy can shift. But usually it might be triggered by an external event, and other such external events, very similar, might have happened to you before, before Uranus was around in your life, the exact aspect, to a planet, to a house cast, but you just didn't react like that. You were like, but now you'd react to it like in a sense that even if it's an external trigger that triggers it, you'd say, okay, this event actually activated me to see things in a totally different light, from a higher perspective, from divine knowledge, to know it, to understand it. But it's actually your vibrations that's shifting, because Uranus is the clocks that telling you, divine, your vibration is enough to do a quantum leap. The energy of Uranus is quantum, very fast, quick. Uranus rules skyscrapers, trampolines, jumping high very quickly from one state to another. So get this energy. Aquarius is the same. So is the North Node, Rahu, which co-rules Aquarius with Uranus and Saturn. So there is this frog leap. Suddenly you're at this state of consciousness, suddenly bam, and you see it. And you know what Einstein says, you can never change a problem for the same state of consciousness through which it was created. The problem can be changed only through a different perspective, different state of consciousness. And this is what Uranus does to you. And when I had Uranus transiting my sun, suddenly all this obsession I felt, this being stuck, not being able to break out of a relationship that I knew was not for me, out, all the feelings out, sudden awakening. When Uranus is around, whatever old has to go, you cannot tolerate it. The untruth, the unauthentic thing, you cannot tolerate. And it's not always a big shock. It's not like you wake up one morning and you leave your husband and your children and your wife or whatever, and that's it. If you've already been, feeling that you're maybe not on the right path, but you don't have the strength, you don't have clear enough signs, you don't have, maybe you have too strong attachments and you've been trying to disconnect, and Uranus has the energy of cutting cords and attachments. Very cold-blooded planet as well. It's like with a laser. That's it. No more karmic cords connected. Sometimes you break up with someone and for 7, 10, 20 years, you're like, oh, I wish to be with this person again. Oh, those times were so good. Uranus comes, you're like, damn, bam. Suddenly, why did I even, you feel differently about this person. You feel differently about, but it's not going to be like you've been in a wonderful marriage, love your career, and suddenly Uranus comes and you realize you don't love your partner and your career is awful. No, because Uranus doesn't want to destroy things that work, that are good in your life. Uranus just wants to help you let go of the old to introduce the new. And it happens very quickly. I have so many stories of people getting Uranus square their Venus or whatever, and suddenly they wake up and they're done with a relationship. They knew they shouldn't be. Say, for example, for five years ago, their partner cheated on them, but they still, are with them. And suddenly they wake up and they're okay. No more feelings, no more. It's so liberating, and it can feel so cruel in the eyes of others. Like, she's or he's so cruel. How can they quit like that their job, or leave this situation like that, or cut the family off? Or sometimes it's like, are they crazy? They're gonna travel the world, or they're selling their property with their spouse, and they're gonna go live in Kathmandu. It can sound like that crazy for others, but for you, it makes perfect sense. You're not crazy. When Uranus is around, it shows you the cold truth and exciting, the reality. It's just so clear. It becomes so clear to you. It's the opposite of Neptune, when you're like, oh, what should I do? I don't know what I want to do here, there. Oh, And Gemini, you'll be very happy. Also, Virgos, anyone who has Virgo energies, Gemini, Sagittarius, and the mutable ones, Virgo, Sagittarius, Gemini, and Pisces, because you've had Neptune for the last 14 years. And it's like, should I do this? Should I do that? I'm not sure who I am. I'm not sure what I want. Ambivalence. Neptune is, ambivalence. So maybe you go for this, you think it's everything for you, and then you just get disappointed. And Uranus is the planet of divine truth, and it's clarity. It's bam. I know it now. There's no, so this is what Uranus comes to fix the mess of Neptune. I mean, Neptune was necessary for you. It really softened you, attuned you to be more sensitive. And everyone had Neptune somewhere in their life for the last few years, 14 years. But now Uranus will be working on the same areas that Neptune was working in 14 years. Neptune sensitizes you, makes you more intuitive there, to be aware of the invisible side of life. But also there is this strong confusion, lack of who you are, what you really want. And Uranus is very categorical. There is it's very like clarity. I know I like this or I don't like this. And it becomes, you cannot stand what is fake or it's not real in your life anymore, or it's not your path anymore. You cannot stand it. You cannot live with a lie anymore. That's what happened to me. I woke up, it pretty much happened overnight with Uranus. It can happen within the 1 month that you change your whole life. And I woke up to a new reality, and wow, I can be, usually something new appears in your life. That's how Uranus does it. Something new, but not always. Sometimes just a person realizes a situation they've been, even though they've been thinking about it, they knew maybe it's not healthy, but suddenly they see clearly. It's like some kind of what's that called? Lens has been removed from their eyes. That's foggy. And they can see the pathway right away clearly, and courage comes to you. Uranus really raises the vibration. Neptune can lower the vibrations, and Saturn, you've had Saturn for the last 2, 3 years. Oh, everyone, has somewhere Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, or Sagittarius. Those areas were more suppressed, more slowed down. Now, Uranus in the next 7 years will awaken them. But this intro is very much about, I want to show you how to use this information. Sorry. I'll show you exactly what to check, how, if you have planets in any of those 4 signs or the other signs that Neptune will be aspecting, which are the air signs or the fire signs. Neptune will be square, sextiling, trining, or opposing, So I'll show you how to do it. You don't need to know any astrologers, or even if you're a professional astrologer. This video is just getting you even a deeper feeling of Uranus. To remove the fear as well, Uranus is awakener. It will awaken you to the truth. And like I woke up one morning in 2016 and said, I cannot live like that anymore. It was overnight. It was over the couple of weeks. And I said, I left one continent, I left a marriage, and I started a brand new life. And it's really disruptive, but it's incredibly liberating. Your vibration changes so much. So if there is a time in life when your vibration can really jump suddenly, and at the beginning it can feel so scary, so because it's such a big shift, you think like your vibration is going down, but it's not. Because Uranus, whatever big changes are going to happen in your life, they're going to be because your soul craves them. It's the truth for you. And to break you free, to break you through, that's always like Uranus. You're being broken free. You think, oh, my life is falling apart sometimes. Like I was thinking, oh, I'm getting divorced. I'm leaving one continent. But actually, I was building the start of my new life. And it was the biggest liberation, the biggest raise in consciousness that ever happened to me. With suddenly disconnecting from the past and with barely any sadness, barely feeling even guilt, not feeling that's Uranus energy. It's shock hits you, that's it. You forget about the past, you're not attached to it anymore. Of course, there is always some kind of attachment, but it's so much faster than other times. So I always say that only 3 planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, can really shift the state, the internal state of our psychology. Saturn, Jupiter transits, they affect us externally very strongly, internally as well, but they don't change long-term aspects of our personality forever. They're really evolutionary planets of Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune. They make the transformation on a soul level. They restructure like your whole astral body, mental body, the finer bodies. And till Pluto, Uranus, or Neptune activate the planet in your horoscope with the more strong aspects, square, conjunction, or opposition, usually things in your level of consciousness there stays the same. Pluto does this change the slowest, it takes 2-3 years. Neptune also almost imperceptibly, they both work under the surface, Pluto and Neptune, and then 2-3 years later, you look back, you're like, oh, I've changed so much. Like it's imperceptible. They're more hidden planets. They rule water signs, but Uranus, when it makes a change, you are aware of it. And it happens very fast, within days, within hours, within months, not within sometimes years that Pluto takes. One transit of Pluto over a planet, over a house cusp, is about 2-3 years sometimes, of Neptune, 2 years. Uranus is usually the duration of its orb is 1 year, but so much faster. Within this 1 year, you can change how you feel about this thing a few times. You can totally challenge your previous beliefs, and it's like aware suddenly. Wow, wow, wow. How didn't I see that? You see it from a different perspective. Something you've always done, you see a different meaning in it or whatever. So I love Uranus because it's fast, because nothing takes such a toll on the nervous system as when such very fast changes are happening as with Uranus. Nothing. Uranus rules the nervous system, but it's like a jolt to the system, like being plugged into the electric grid, getting short, like when you short the electricity, and restarting, rebooting the whole system. That's how I see it. And starting like clearing up the paths and starting anew. It is a shock. It might blow you off like a lightning 100 feet away, but you wake up and you're a new person. You speak Japanese suddenly. I mean, suddenly you open such channels to your consciousness in another direction. And I love, there was a book that I read years ago. This research astrologist, she said, when you get a transit from Pluto, Neptune, or Uranus, the three outer planets that are invisible, the psychological, and that's when the biggest psychological changes and transformations for life happen, the biggest evolutionary jumps that we carry, those changes we carry with us in the afterlife and bring them back in the next life. These are our rewards, because the only thing we can carry is the changes we've done with our vibration, with our understanding. So, but she says, like, say you have Uranus transit for 1 year over your seventh house cusp, and your relationships are all sudden changes, new people enter your life, you cut off old relationships, new enter, starting a new relationship, or your partner suddenly has some epiphany and decides to become a veterinary after being a banker, or whatever, some crazy throughout the relationship, something new. And then after a year, things calm down, but the vibration stays the same. I'm not saying that there will be constantly changes, but whatever change has happened in your awareness about relationships, about others, it stays. Suddenly Uranus enters your second house, you start making a lot more money. And then Uranus leaves your second house, but you've opened and you develop this vibration of more abundance, for example. Uranus in the second house, not saying that Uranus in the second house for everyone manifests the same way, but because you've already opened that door, you've walked that path. Now, as they say, water can run through it again once the path has been made. So the kind of the circumstances of that area of your life are not gonna, it will stay, this novelty, this changes that Uranus introduced will stay, and till the next time Pluto or Neptune activate. So, for example, I had my sun activated by Uranus in 2016, and for 3 years, and Uranus passed away, went into away from my sun. But this Uranian energy of novelty, excitability stayed with me, this lesson. But then 4 or 5 years later, Pluto squared my sun. And ever since Pluto square was 2 years, the energy became Plutonian about my identity, big transformation, deep detox work, gradual work on yourself through deep psychological realization. It wasn't sudden liberation like Uranus, but it stays with me until the next time an outer planet with hard aspect, conjunction, opposition, or square activates the sun. You can apply to any planet or point in your horoscope. So it's like a tuning fork. It's the vibration is most powerful when the transit is exactly, say, square your sun or conjunction your Mercury, of Uranus or any planet. But we're talking just the outer ones, Uranus, Pluto, Neptune. And the moment it moves away, well, you're no longer shaking from this vibration, but this vibration has been introduced into your life. Say the Uranian vibration that we're talking about, of novelty, of trying new things, of being free, breaking away from the old, awakening to new possibilities. It's very activating. Well, it's not going to be Uranus leaves you, say it's 5, 6 degrees away from your sun or ascendant, but there is no Neptune or Pluto aspect for years after that. So you'll stay with this, kind of like the pitch first, but you continue to vibrate with Uranus till another one like Pluto comes, for example, and then its vibration is different. So now till 2000, Neptune will affect my sun, for example, in 10 years from now. Till then, I'll vibrate with my sun in the Plutonia, very gentle, like echo, echo, echo from the initial hit, but it's there. So what I'm trying to tell you through this is that if you have planets in Gemini in particular, then in Sagittarius, Virgo or Pisces or house cusps there, for the last planet, outer planet that activated those areas of your life was Neptune over the last 14 years at some point. And the vibration of Neptune is very different. And it's kind of Neptune is the planet of falling asleep or taking a break or withdrawing. It's more passive, it's more introspective, it's more, being confused about it or just feeling into it rather than doing anything about it, embodying it rather than, and Uranus is so different, and Uranus is coming to really shake away that Neptunian vibration. It doesn't mean you always remember the Neptune lesson, you've integrated it, it's changed you, but now the universe says it's time, sometime in the next 7 years, to introduce the vibration of Uranus, awakening novelty, excitement into that area of your life. And I really want to show you now a bit of the technical part. I love Uranus. Even though it's so disruptive, I thought that was like emotionally my nervous system when I got Uranus transiting my sun, Mars, and Venus, because they are within 1 degree, was like, I'm dying. I'm dying, but yet exhilaration and excitement, and your nervous system is overwhelmed, but then it's so wonderful because something new is coming. And you know what? Mutable signs they like. So do cardinal signs. They like cardinal signs are Aries, Capricorn, Libra, Cancer. They're more okay with Uranus, and mutable in particular, very okay with Uranus, because they're signs, and mutable, as we said, Gemini, Virgo, Pisces, Sagittarius, that are strongly affected by Uranus. Why? Because they're signs of mutability, change, and Uranus is the planet of change, and their signs are cardinal ones. And they flow and they're very adaptable. Whatever planets you might have or house cusp in. So, I mean, you might not be Virgo or Gemini. So you say, oh, I'm not mutable, I'm Scorpio, I don't like, or Taurus, I don't like changes. But you have Gemini somewhere in your horoscope. Maybe it's in your second house. And you have Uranus somewhere. Sorry, Sagittarius. And you have, or maybe you have planets in Gemini or Sagittarius, mutable signs. So in those areas of your life, say your second house, you'll be way more adaptable and not so fixed. And Uranus comes now, the planet of changes, somewhere in your horoscope, in some area of your life. You'll be able, much more easier to adapt to those changes. Actually, you might even be really anticipating them, looking forward, because mutable, wherever you have the mutable energy in your horoscope, and everyone has it somewhere, that's where we're changeable. That's where we don't like things to be the same for a long time. So is cardinal. They don't like things to be the same for a long time. Wow, Uranus was for the last 7 years, guess where? In Taurus, the most fixed sign. So we all have Taurus somewhere in our horoscope. And we all have Scorpio and Aquarius and Leo. They're all fixed signs that Uranus was affecting. So the last 7 years, the influences of Uranus on us were more disruptive, because where we have fixed signs, we want things to be stable. We want to be the pillar of society, to be always the same. Like I have it on my 7th house. I want my relationships and business partnerships to stay the same. Or if you have it in your 10th house, you want your career to stay the same. But I had Uranus through my 4th house, and I changed for 7 years, 10 times place of living. And it's kind of like whatever. But now when Uranus goes in Gemini, whatever it is in your horoscope, you're more willing, because mutable signs are more willing. In your kind of psyche, you're more aligned to changes there. So it will be easy on us. Plus, Uranus is not making any hard aspects all those years. Only at the very end, the last year, let me check exactly which year, only 2032 and 2032, it's conjunct Saturn at the very last 2 degrees of Gemini. But the rest of the time, for the next, 6 years, Uranus is making only positive aspects. Sextile to Pluto, sextile, trine to Pluto, sextile to Neptune, sextile to Saturn. So this will be a very, only as I said, 3033 and 3032 and 3 gets intense at the very end. But the rest of the time, Uranus, it wasn't like Uranus in Taurus, by the way. Uranus in Taurus, guys, it was squaring Saturn, big part. That was one of the biggest disruptions there. Uranus was squaring Saturn, and we had the economic crisis. Fixed signs are connected to the economy. So everything doubled 2021, 2022 in price. That's when the big economic crisis happened, like the inflation, when Uranus squared Saturn in financial signs. But now Uranus is entering in Gemini. First of all, it's not connected to finances, but it's the change will be much more organic, much more natural. It's not going to feel so stressful like in a fixed sign, because we want things to be the same in a fixed sign. Like Taurus, we don't want the value of our money to change, which is Taurus. We don't want the values of our possessions to disappear and to be changed. And you see what happened with Uranus in Taurus. Let's recap the last 7 years. Uranus in Taurus, the first time it went 2017. I make a video that then I say financial system won't be the same by the end of Uranus in Taurus. You can go back in 2017. It was a May video. And I said, it will all become digital. And people are like, what does it mean digital? I said, it's not going to be the same. No one knew about Bitcoin, crypto, such things back then. Within days of Uranus entering Taurus, and I don't know how it's going to happen. I didn't even know about crypto. Bitcoin goes from $100 to 14,000, something like that, within the first Uranus in Taurus. So everyone starts paying attention to digital currencies. It starts exploring in the next 7 years. At the beginning, it's so taboo. No one knows Uranus. Every time it enters a new sign, it grabs your attention with a shocking, something new, very different, shocking, suddenly exploding. In Taurus was about basically the crypto, and it was a sign that in the next 7-8 years, by the end of Uranus in a sign, it becomes mainstream. It gets adopted everywhere. So we have another 1 year of Uranus in Taurus in 2026 for a few months. So we're not finished. But by the time Uranus enters Taurus, everywhere in the world, digital currencies will be, and right now is being integrated. I think that by the end of 2025 and in 2026, every bank will be working with central digital currencies, whatever. Everything will be tokenized, all possessions, Every tree, every grass, every stone will be tokenized as well. And it's being done. It's in the process now, and it's being accepted. Well, also, what happened during Uranus in Taurus? And it's disruptive, you know. Uranus in Taurus gave us the financial crisis. Uranus in Taurus gave us this shock in our values with COVID as well. Uranus in Taurus gave us, and as I said, always by the end of the transit, we become so much, the general population, which is Uranus, becomes, Uranus rules Aquarius, the general, the majority, they become really aware about something that they didn't know before. Uranus is knowing, you know. What did we become aware in the last 7 years? First of all, the financial system, the Fed, the scam of the banks, and people don't, you know, anymore these financial institutions, how it's all manipulated. Second, food. 7 years ago, very few people knew about seed oils, about glyphosate, Roundup, about fluoride in the water, because Taurus is food, what we take in our body, what we drink. Now, it was taboo even to mention that, you know, all of those things that everyone knows now about. Awareness about nutrition, about food, about the poisons in the food. We were like, oh, you're conspiracy theorists 7 years ago, big deal. Like, and now everyone's talking about organic food, avoid fake meats, avoid uh, so much awareness about food, about what to eat, about seed oils, about chemicals, about that was fantastic in the last 7 years. Now it's mainstream. Not only is it mainstream, it was taboo at the beginning when Uranus entered there. They started printing meats, innovation, Uranus in Taurus, but people again became immediately aware that these are cancer, for meat to replicate, these are cancerous cells. So they tried with they incorporating it, eating novelty foods like worms and stuff like that. Uranus has its Mr. Frankenstein energy as well of scientific, you know, GMO foods, but we became aware. They introduced a lot more GMO foods and crops in the last 7 years. It's a nightmare, but people became so much more aware that even the moms in a small provincial town where I live in Bulgaria, they're like, we don't want GMO foods. They ask, they even go to the local markets. The markets became like farmers markets, support your local farmer, food producer, not those big corporations that inject different genes in there, different kind of who knows what, that you change your genetic. So it became such an incredible seeing this, first getting frustrated, but then seeing the awakening of people becoming, and when people don't want those things, and now I have everyone in this, like friends of mine, they're saying, okay, you know, if it says this thing, it means there is some kind of crickets inside or some kind of insect. So with the moms exchanging, everyone's boycotting those products that have the chitin and the kind of stuff that we know are not good for us, or GMO. Well, they'll try it, but awareness, it's what wins as well. And if people don't want that, they'll stop it. But of course, they try to do it. The same will happen now with Gemini stuff. And very quickly, it's people will become very aware about the air. Gemini now, Taurus is the food awareness that we have. And even look at the end of Uranus in Taurus, what are we seeing? We're seeing that we're even getting in government now, people like Kennedy who are talking about, you know, removing dyes from the food, removing GMO, making people aware which foods have GMO, because they even try to not to show that, and trying to give organic food to everyone. So amazing awareness about the development, about food overall. If it went to the government, but it happened only because everyone collectively was ready for that. They've had enough. Uranus woke them up while it was in Taurus. About the Taurus is our earth, the quality of our soils. People are becoming more and more aware of the quality. All the grandmas in my village around, I'm in a tiny village. All the grandmas, they say the only way something grows if we cover it. And I said, but you've been growing fruits and veggies in their gardens for 50 years. I said, they have spraying something from the earth. Something comes into the soil. Every time after it rains, it kills our crops. So they become aware of it and they're petitioning the ministers. Hopefully it will happen. But now it will happen when Uranus is in Gemini, because Gemini is air. So we became aware about the pollution of the food. We're removing it gradually. Everyone, anyone who is even on stamps, they're aware that soda is bad for you now. Uranus woke us up to that you have to eat plant-based or whole foods, organic. And now it comes term to Gemini, things that we'll become aware of, about, and the Gemini stuff will be about, first of all, air. We'll clean up the air. Till recently, it was conspiracy theory that there's chemtrails. Now, the governments are talking about it officially. Again, we with the tinfoil hats, everyone laughed at me. My friends laughed at me. Just read these trails of normal planes. No, they're not. Now everyone is saying it. I mean, scientists officially on the TV, GMO modification, but believe me, people will awaken the majority, what's in the air. And by the end of, by 2032, 3, we're hoping that the majorities of countries that they're spraying heavy chemicals, which is usually aluminum and stuff, which poisons your food and it poisons basically your nervous system and cognition and how aware you are. People will be aware how to detox from those things and how to, and governments will be pushing for, because it's deep governments that are doing it. It's not the ones that are ruling. They're not aware of it, but now they're becoming aware of this, trying it in many states in America already. They're putting about anti-geoengineering of the air, which has been going on for the last 30, 40 years already, just now official. Anyway, so that's great news, cleaning up of the air or becoming aware about it. So the consciousness, when the consciousness of, if it becomes enough mainstream, the vibration collectively changes, then as a result, not that the politicians are forced to do it, but as a result, we get whatever politicians we deserve vibrationally. So rulers and whatever. So now they're cleaning, and when Uranus changes the awareness of everyone about the air, breath, will collectively shift as well as a manifestation, not to poison it. Then another thing, Gemini is education. People become so aware that the educational system has been outdated for trying to do one path fit everyone. There'll be such alternative ways of teaching. There'll be a boom of alternative schools that, we call our kids ADHD, but till the age of 7, even 10, 12, they need to run, to be outside, and we close them for 10 hours in a room, and then we medicate them. People will become aware of this, and they'll say enough. So there'll be a lot of schools that are outside, that are more active, that are learning more in a more organic way, that are adapted to the different neurodivergent students. And I hate this word, I mean, like, it's not mental health, they're just made differently. Of course, there is more extreme cases, which is nervous system problems like high-level autism. That's, but I know that there will be, I bet my head, it's just knowing astrology, seeing how it always works 100%. There'll be such new variety. And if you want to open a new school or online, there'll be a lot online. AI teachers, that's also part, of course. They can take the human element because Uranus is very as well. But also Uranus is very progressive, very technocratic, technological, digital, but it's also very humanitarian on the high vibration. So they can have much more humanly relevant and more individualistic approach to kids, to teaching, for education, not just for kids, for grown-ups, anyone who wants to take courses, classes to upgrade themselves. It will become extremely accessible. Say goodbye to expensive universities over the next 7 years, mark my word. Say goodbye to, there will be mostly apprenticeships. Gemini is more like learning skills, crafts, and Uranus is opposing Sagittarius, which is the higher education. I mean, some people will still need to do higher education, but somehow it will become accessible. Even if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, you'd be able to study online for, say, $1,000 per year rather than $20,000. It will be made accessible, and in Europe, it's all free. Education is all free. But somehow, anyone who wants to study, it won't be like in my time. I wanted to have a university degree so much, but I just didn't have the money to do it. Now, if you want to do it for $100 per month, you can subscribe, you can study. It will make it very accessible. Uranus makes things very accessible, usable for the masses, and Gemini's education skills as long as you want. And people will become aware now of a great need and excitement. The excitement to acquire skills will come. Because without skills, AI will outperform us all, or just new skills that are aligned to training AI and so on. But also life skills. Because Uranus in Gemini, AI can't dig in your garden. Maybe robots can. AI can do a lot of the mental tasks and work, and it will really progress with Uranus in Gemini. Of course, it will. Oh, apps, software, digital stuff. I told you this, like a frog jump, or like shooting into the cosmos, energy of Uranus to the moon, as they call it. It will happen. It will go to the moon. Just like when Uranus enters Taurus, digital money, Bitcoin to the moon. Uranus enters Gemini now. Access to learning, to studying, new systems of learning and studying. AI will become ultra intelligent during this period, surpass humans. So humans will have to they'll see the need to move fast, to quickly adapt, and to quickly be in tone with the time. So constantly acquiring new skills that AI can do, or that can train AI. Because I mean, even robots can work in the fields, and drones very soon, who knows? And I'm not saying this is a bad thing. There is always a positive and a negative, as long as it doesn't make us irrelevant intellectually. Because the fastest way to shorten someone's life, to put them in a depression and shorten their life, is to make them feel irrelevant. Like we make old people feel irrelevant. Oh, you're old, you're not beautiful anymore, you can't create things, you can't work, you're irrelevant. In the Western world, that's why our elderly are dying. I mean, we have good standards, 78 years of age, but societies like Italy, or where old age is respected, they felt their knowledge is being appreciated as relevant. They advise, they live with their families to old age. They go to 100. They have a lot of centenarians in such cultures. So if our work is taken away, which with Uranus squaring Virgo, which is the workforce, will make a lot of, from Gemini, will make a lot of people feel useless at the workforce. Disruption square, Gemini to Virgo square, disruptive aspect, to make them feel either irrelevant as human beings, as in the workforce. But if, because it's Virgo, it's adaptable, people will quickly be adapting. Plus, Uranus is making only good aspects to other transiting planets, to Pluto, to Neptune. So people will very quickly adapt and learn how to do that. But the workforce will be disrupted, Virgo. Pisces will be disrupted, the medical system from Gemini, with a lot of truths being revealed, with a lot of even like the high prices of medical, like being diagnosed or whatever, big disruption there. So the medical doctor, nurses, diagnosticians, they have to also adapt in the next 7 years, either through new technologies, to automate it through AI. For example, instead of going to a doctor and paying $600 for a visit to tell you take Nurofen, sometimes more, you'd be like, AI will be diagnosing you, and it will cost, say, $20. So it will be revolutionized. In a stress way, what is squares, oppositions, and conjunctions is bigger changes than with the easy aspects, sextile and trines. And bigger aspects means more stress, bigger changes. So square, opposition, conjunction is not necessarily negative aspects and transits. That when I'll talk about that, it will mean that if Uranus is, say, opposing your Venus in Sagittarius, or squaring your Mercury in Virgo, or squaring your seventh house cusp in Pisces, it will mean that or opposing or conjunct your moon in Gemini, or your third house in Gemini. what means the conjunction square in opposition, which we call hard aspect, is that the changes are much bigger. Or so it takes a bigger toll on the peacefulness of a person. It disrupts. It's more disruptive. The change might be wonderful. The change might be difficult. With the square and the opposition, you cannot say, oh, it will be a bad change. I hate that. And I've seen it. It doesn't necessarily. It's like with the square and opposition, it feels hard, but it might be the most beautiful change that's happening. And change is not easy. And Uranus is generally change. It just might be more disruptive to your routines, to your way of life, but how can you get out of a stuck situation unless you're the disruptor or something disrupts you from outside? So don't be scared of squares or positions if you have planets in those mutable signs. It means the change will be bigger for you. While those who are like Aries, Leo, Libra, and Aquarius, they'll get the sextiles and the trines planets there. They'll be very gentle. They'll flow into the changes. They'll be like very organic. It won't feel like any disruption, more like awakening with more energy and a bit excited to try on something new to incorporate. While with the square opposition and conjunction, it feels more like you gotta do it or you're going down, or there's or kind of out of someone forces you or circumstances force you, or somehow it comes on you and you gotta deal with it, or internal impulse that I need to change, or I'm done with that. Like I cannot tolerate that, so I'm gonna change. It's just how it comes about is more stressful, but the change can be amazing. So don't be scared of the when I call hard aspects. So yeah, educational system, the children, there'll be a lot of attention to the neurodivergent children and maybe healing because it's dysregulation of the nervous system, poisoning with heavy metals, because Gemini rules the nervous system. So there'll be huge advance in maybe helping healing autistic children. There are children that are nonverbal till 15, 20. They make them a heavy metal detox, parasite detox, and whatever, and a treatment with that heals the nervous system, and they start talking. So there'll be big advances in such either ADHD, any kind of neurodivergent. I'm not saying we'll all be made the same, but the negative, because it's interesting for people to think differently. It's diversity, but the negative, this painful side of those stuff, they'll find incredible, because Uranus is the planet of divine dispensation of knowledge. There is whole cities of scientists and entities above that are working to dispensate knowledge to people. And this happens through the Uranian influence of innovation. So whoever thinks that psychologists might download, the healers might download new such system methods. So that's because Gemini rules children, our nervous system, but also our nervous system will be overstimulated. Plus, we'll become extremely aware of the damages of, just like with Uranus in Taurus, about the food, the gut, how it affects your health, your mood. The biggest thing to affect, one of the biggest things is the food, your nervous system, your success as a human being. We became aware of that. Now we'll become aware how a social media, Wi-Fi's, internet, EMF, Gemini, because it's the air, the waves in the air, the social media, the overstimulation of the attention, this monkey just scrolling, which it's a big issue for me. It will become even bigger issue. Now AI will think of even more enticing ways to grab you, but with really increasing, like children not being able to keep their attention at one place for longer than 2-3 minutes because of it, will become such common knowledge to everyone that believe me, there will be this awareness that will push people to embrace more intelligent approach to social media, to EMFs, to healing, to kind of even isolating the home from EMFs, so high hardwiring instead of using Wi-Fi, hardwiring your laptops, even your phones. This will become common knowledge for everyone, recommended, maybe used in schools, maybe. So the brain development of children, which is Gemini, can, and not just children. I mean, I get so depressed when I stay on social media a long time. Anyway, this will become huge. And thankfully, because it's time, there'll be a lot of knowledge, a lot of advice how to do it in a safe way, how much is safe, what to avoid, and so on. Awareness socially from everyone, even like in Japan or China, they're the biggest AI developments, whatever innovations, but they don't allow their kids more than an hour. I think it's by law, even in schools and whatever. The same will come to us, I'm quite certain, to the general population. Gemini is transactions, trade. Whoa, there will be a boom in new trades, new kinds of online businesses, internet businesses, because Gemini rules that. If you want to have an internet business, now is the time. Selling online, whatever, everything, Gemini is transaction, trade, business. Boom, Uranus. Boom. Boom in educational, but of course it will make it cheaper as well. So a lot of services, Gemini, will become cheaper. Especially services is Virgo as well. And there will be a disruption there. So people who in services, like, they'll be like, so what, my labor will be cheaper? Well, you have to find a way. You'll be just to be more, you'll be able to do 10 times more for the same time through AI, through technologies, through developments, So you just have to be, not saying you work 10 times harder, you just for the same amount, you'll make 10 times more. So that's why there'll be disruptions, because you'll be either more productive or you won't be needed in that sphere. So that's why we have to learn and study a lot in the next many years. I mean, the whole age of Aquarius is air for the next 2,500 years. Constantly be upgrading knowledge, understanding of the world. You need to stay tuned instead of zoning out. And with Uranus and Gemini, things will be changing so quickly. Gemini rules devices, tools. Gemini is the twins with the hands. Even the ancient symbol of Gemini is a man with a hammer and a woman with a flute. So these are the tools we use. So now the tools that we use, I don't know, gadgets in our everyday life, will be to make our life much easier from that toiling hand work will be relieved and freed. Uranus to be freed from a lot of like everyday things to do with the hands. It might be a blessing, it might be a curse as well, because people need to be engaged. It's very healing to have your hands engaged, like people knitting, or like women were always doing it, because then what does the devil finds work for empty hands, for idle hands. But there'll be like people who find it the need to educate themselves, to study, to learn stuff, and it will be much easier to learn, to get information, education. Time will be freed for us somehow, and it will become accessible. Now, Gemini cities, neighborhoods, they'll become more accessible. You find yourself feeling more freedom there. Instead of having 15-minute cities, as they talk about, you have your doctor there, you have your library, your school, everything that you need, your dentist within 10-15 minutes. So you're free, not needing to take trains. And that's the good side. There'll be close-knitted, more vibrant. Uranus is vibrant urban neighborhoods that are more connected. It will have a village feeling. But at the same time, there is a danger digitizing everything in those 15-minute cities, becoming a digital prison one day when Saturn enters into Gemini towards 2022, 2023, and joins Uranus towards the end of Uranus in Gemini. You think those liberties that Uranus in Gemini gives us as citizens, these conveniences, easy access, Uranus, something fast, easy, to everything we want, this more vibrant community. Definitely the local spaces will develop much better. It will be like people will become much more excited to trade locally, to buy locally, even those shops that are local, because Gemini is your local environment, the mom and pop shops. It's people will reorient themselves to such kind, instead of You know what will suffer? Sagittarius, Pisces, by opposition and square from Gemini, from Uranus. So what does it mean? That, you know, avocados from Chile or toys from China, because Gemini and Pisces is import exports from faraway places, or pears from Chile that are wrapped up in China and chopped up in some other country and then sold in the States. This is Uranus going to disrupt that. Uranus, where does it gives the power? To Gemini. It disrupts Sagittarius, Pisces, gives the power to the local trades, to the local craftsmen, to the local food producers, to the local toy makers, somehow, So people would prefer it rather than having many less, but that they feel they could support their local community. They'll become awake and aware, Uranus, about the importance of your local community. That's great. I'm very excited for that. Just worried when Saturn joins Uranus towards the end, if we're really kind of so not to have like a civil lockdowns with Saturn and Uranus at the last degrees of Gemini, civil unrest, because when you create digital 15-minute cities and neighborhoods, even wrong thinking can sometimes, through the digital things can put you in trouble. So we have to be aware of that. But people will become aware of dangers of becoming too reliant as well. But it's time for us to get awakened, and Uranus will do that towards our social responsibilities in our environment, neighborhoods, and will connect people better there. And it will also awaken people to want to meeting in groups. Gemini's, because we've been too much online. And Uranus in Gemini, of course, it's not going to stop. But Gemini has a side of meeting with 2, 3 people to chat, to have a coffee, to get together. Let's work a communal garden here. Let's maybe gather the rubbish together around in our neighborhood. This Uranus will awaken us to this consciousness, to care more about what is near and dear around you, Gemini, your local, to connect more with such people. Uranus is connecting, Gemini is connecting. And infrastructure, there'll be a big boom in infrastructure. Maybe like ones that are more digital, electronic cars, I don't know, hovers, flying within 7 years, I think. Maybe roads will become irrelevant, or trains. Uranus in Gemini always corresponded in previous years with building train tracks, whatever, very fast speed trains between kind of some magnetic movements, But somehow the old type of transportation will become more and more irrelevant. There will be new types of transportations that over the next 7 years, maybe something will come up like, the new hovercraft for very fast movement around the neighboring cities. So this speed train that takes you from London to New York under the ocean in 30 seconds or 30 minutes, whatever. I'm expecting such really big things. And even Uranus is aviation. I think there might be something flying, something through the air that connects like closed cities and states, Gemini neighborhood, much faster than taking a plane and whatever. So there'll be easy access, but you see, it will be easier to access local environment, local states. Well, Uranus disrupts a bit far away traveling. Maybe it will be more expensive because Sagittarius is there. Whew. Okay, my God, I can talk and talk and talk. Let's continue if you want, for those of you who are watching this for free, because I'm putting it on YouTube. If you want to listen now, the specific predictions about Uranus in Gemini through the 12 houses, or aspect to your Sun, sextile your Venus, square your Saturn, with real life stories and example, continue to the next video. And it will come with a bit of technical advice how to, this was more about the world, about the general influences, but the other one gets very specific only for the human, the individual human being, with a lot of stories, funny stories, sometimes exciting, inspirational stories, how Uranus, it's, even though it's disruptive, it's the best thing always that can happen. So we'll go to that. and you know what to expect, with the very gentle changes, because you're going to have, like me, I'll have just 6,000 trines from Uranus. And or maybe bigger changes, like I had squares and oppositions in the last 7 years of Uranus, so 7 times crossing the ocean, buying 7 houses, properties, like constant changes, you know. So if you square, opposition, conjunction, constant, or more like really big changes, sextile trines, it's more like uh, novelty, having novelty in your life rather than totally overhaul. And yeah, Uranus in Gemini, of course, civil wars. Every time Uranus goes in Gemini, America, civil wars, whatever, civil unrest around the world. Also, the French Revolution happened because what is Gemini is society, is the civil world. Uranus is to awaken to the truth. Uranus is rebellion, and their revolution, rebellion, because you can't tolerate the untruth, being led by the nose. So yes, that we can expect. Civil unrest for sure. That we can expect. People waking up. Hopefully it's going to happen in peaceful ways. Uranus is sextiling Saturn and Neptune in Aries. But people have much higher consciousness because Gemini is a human sign. Awareness, the mind, understanding of the world around you becomes at a much higher vibration. So humans don't allow to be, they always break through away from some kind of servitude, just like I think the Revolutionary War happened with Uranus in Gemini, and then the slavery, the fight for slavery, civil war, because people are trying to fight for their freedoms. Gemini people, Uranus fight for freedom. We'll see that. But because Uranus is getting a lot of good aspects, I think it will happen in a harmonious kind of, more because the vibration of humanity has raised. So now politicians have to give more freedoms, or rather than through some big disruption. So this is my good perspective to you. This is my own interpretation. Unless it's towards 2033, 2032, Uranus conjunct Saturn, then it can become explosive. But yeah, there is, and especially America always goes into wars when Uranus is in the 7th house of open enemies. They break up alliances, they form new alliances, new external politics. 7th house for America is external politics, alliances. Totally will change in the next 7 years. Contracts, agreements for the states, but generally, Gemini is also the mind. So watch out for mind hacks. A lot of ways how to reprogram your mind, how to shift from old paradigm of beliefs to disrupt them. Uranus opposing Sagittarius belief. Gemini is our own thinking, and Uranus is here with some brilliant flashes of insight, can allow us to break through old ways of thinking, old ways of, so reprogram and hack our mind. And there will be a dispensation of knowledge from above, from the higher worlds, to us humans, how to do quick shifts of a way of thinking. Because now it might take you 3 years, 3 lifetimes to shift your thinking, say about money, about relationships. With Uranus in Gemini, it explodes much faster, that you can shift the whole vibration of your thinking, your internal dialogue. Then Gemini is television and such things. Watch out, new things that to complete with Netflix, something totally other way of entertainment. Gemini is entertainment. Gemini's business, new businesses, definitely. It's exciting. I'm excited for Uranus in Gemini. It's definitely a lot. It's going to be more easy, more, it will open more opportunities and not as disruptive as Uranus in Taurus as it's been in the last 7-8 years. And people will be more ready for it. And especially young people will respond really well to that, because they'll finally start understanding that the world and the grown-ups are catching up to them and their way of understanding and thinking, and are accepting them rather than trying to make them fit into a mold. Because Gemini is our youth, and Uranus there will give us more understanding into them. Thank you so much. Let's continue into the next video. If you want to buy this course, it's $20 if you're already just the early bird one. And that was just the intro. Now the next 5 hours will be going through every possible aspect. You can buy it. It's the most, I told you, knowledge will become cheap with Uranus in Gemini, and information will become very easily accessible. And I want to lead that change. That's why I'm offering this. Usually such course would be $200 if you check for other websites and astrologers. I'm giving it, and you can use it for life. Maybe in 60 years, you'd have Uranus conjunct your sun. You can come back to this and say, oh, maybe you don't need it now. Maybe you need it in the next Uranus. Maybe in 7 years, 10, 15, you might have a different Uranus transit. You have it for life with a PhD, with a manual of 150 pages from my transit Bible. So you have it in a video, plus you have interpretations from, on the manual is from other very developed, incredible astrologers, and I give you my interpretation, updated one in real life. So this you just have it as a manual of Uranus for life, basically, for just $20. Yeah, let's see. Let's go now into the individual influence of Uranus in our lives. I am so excited.